my name is Ryan Heaps, and I was a sound designer and experience designer in the virtual reality game Amaoto, created for the IAT445 semester showcase. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you all about the production, inspiration, and experiences that went into its creation. In Amaoto, the player awakens on the bed of the seafloor, with no clear explanation of how they got there. A brief glance at their surroundings reveals colorful ocean plants scattered around them, and a sprawling underwater greenhouse in the distance. After approaching the glowing structure and pressing through a barrier of water at the entryway, the user is introduced to an entirely new environment featuring lush plants and a mishmash of abandoned objects. A single droplet formed at the center of the greenhouse's plaza rings out rhythmically, drawing users towards it as a point of interest. By placing different objects underneath each water droplet, unique sounds can be formed, and additional water droplets can be unlocked across the environment. These new droplets can be used to create a rhythmic cascade of sound which echoes across the entire enclosed deep-sea structure, completely engulfing the immersive and spatialized sound. Our primary goal with Amaoto was to give immersions a non-linear exploratory space with meditative and fantastical undertones. Originating with that goal of inducing meditative feelings, we began to map out spaces and styles of ambience that each of us found calming, the types of settings which took you out of reality and placed you inside of your own mind. The earliest stages of this process had us examining small towns at nighttime or long-abandoned gardens. Common themes started to appear, such as soft rain or the presence of plants, isolation and a space free from other people. After another round of ideation, we had settled on an abandoned greenhouse, one which featured a heavy sense of dilapidation, with rain soaking through missing ceiling panels and featured overgrown plants. Once our setting was locked in, the interactions became our main focus. We had known from the beginning that we wanted to explore meditative sound, playing with numinous tones and echoes. The ideas of using water droplets to intertwine the environment with the interactions was pitched, and the entire team was quick to jump on it by exploring the types of objects that could be combined to create dings and other ringing sounds. We had always known Amaoto was going to be a sensory immersion-focused experience, but we now began to shift away from the visuals as the main focus and towards the auditory experience. During our early feedback sessions, the idea was positively received, but was critiqued for its lack of a strong wondrous element which could be used to inspire awe in our users. We needed to find a motivation for this experience to take place in virtual reality. We set about transforming our environment once again, moving it away from reality and further towards the extremes of our original intent. More plants, more water, more isolation. By placing our immersion into this fantastic glowing underwater space, we were able to give them a chance to experience an environment they would never be able to in reality. With our setting and interaction locked in, we got to work creating our finalized experience, preparing it for the final showcase, complete with a minor physical rig composed of dark light-blocking paper to further isolate each user in the real world.
One thing I really like is the simplicity of the game. There's nothing fancy to do, but to listen how the raindrops vary, the sound of raindrop vary like each time. It just reminds me like when I have nothing to do when I was little, like sometimes I would do this kind of things as well. It's like it's simple, and it might not even be called as a game, but it's just so much fun. It's another very refreshing thing is the setting of the whole greenhouse, because it's almost like something only would appear in your childhood dream. It's like there is a greenhouse in the deep ocean, and then it just reminds me a lot of fairy tales. So it's like the environment itself is very attractive.
The single piece of feedback that we heard most during our showcase focused around that moment when the immersion bursts through the initial barrier of water into the greenhouse and is bombarded by visual and audio sources. While immersions were inside of Amaoto, they felt completely enveloped in the sights and sounds of our tiny world. They were motivated not only to explore, but to experiment without consequences. That brief moment of escape was always our intent, and we were glad to be able to provide it for at least a short while.